Yes, yeah. This is it, man. It's the final episode of the Cliff Notes podcast. At least for the year 2020. I mean, it's been a crazy year, and I've had an opportunity to build with some pretty amazing people this year and share it with you, man. And hopefully you've been digging all of the conversations. If you have, just a reminder, share the Cliff Notes podcast with your folk. It's available everywhere. If you check out Podchaser, it's this dope site, and it's got links to all of the podcasts that come out of DJ Cliff Productions, which of course includes the Cliff Notes podcast. So I just wanted to off top just say thank you to everyone. I know it's been a tough year for all of us. Hopefully moving forward, we can find some just better days, man. Continuing to build and support with one another, just through everything that we're doing. I mean, also remember you can also support the movement at the Patreon, DJ Cliff, DJKLYPH. And yeah, man, just continue to help us do what we're doing. But most importantly, let folk know, especially about this episode. So dope to have a conversation with a cat who I've been building with over the years. An artist, MC, but also engineer. So he has a very good ear for music. Building through the years with DJ House Shoes and street corner music. So much classic music has come out of that camp, man. So you get to hear some stories of people he's had an opportunity to build with over the years, his writing and creative process, just talking about his latest release, inspired by true events. Check out the latest episode of the Cliff Notes podcast with the homie, Tenacity. Support for the Cliff Notes podcast comes from Acapella Apparel, an idea born from a love of hip-hop, funk, and soul music and its surrounding cultures. With fashion being a huge visual part of the cultures, they've created expressive images to pay homage, invoke nostalgia, and showcase the elements that make up the lifestyle and cultures of these genres. Acapella, apparel for the music lifestyle. For more information, check out acapella.com. That's AKEPELE.com. Yes, yeah. Welcome back to the Cliff Notes podcast. Available everywhere you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Stitcher, we all over the place, man. Appreciate y'all tapping in for real. Got a good one for y'all today. Get an opportunity to, it's always cool to be able to chop it up with folk from all over the place. And that's what we get an opportunity to do today. Chop it up with a cat who I've known for a couple years. And had him on as a guest on the radio show, the Welcome to the Neighborhood radio show. And he got a crazy story that I think is, I know a little bit of it, but it's dope to be able to dive into, the deep depths of it. MC, producer, engineer, does a little bit of it all. Dope to have him live in the neighborhood. The homie Tenacity. What's good with you, man?
What up? How are you?
Man, look, I'm good, bro. Yo, thanks so much for doing this, man.
Of course, man.
So like I said, we connected a couple years ago. Shout out to the homie J57, I believe, made the initial connect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, like I said, had an opportunity to have you on the radio show, the Welcome to the Neighborhood radio show. The first time is when you released the project with Drugs Beats.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like it's funny because then as I started doing a little bit of background research for this, I'm like, yeah, I think that's when I was really introduced to you as an artist, as a creator. But then I realized as I started looking through like your discography, but especially your engineering credits, I was like, oh, okay. But I've been connected that way for a while, bro. You like, it's crazy how much material you have had your hands in over the years, man, in terms of engineering. Like, I think I was looking at the Crown Royal joint and I was like, dang, I remember I used to bump that on the radio, and that's a Tenacity situation.
Yeah.
But let's go back, man. Let's talk about you and your story. Like folk may know you as a creator in terms of an artist, but and I guess I should ask, artist, engineer, like which takes more of your energy? Like what do you see yourself as more?
I think these days I see myself as an engineer more. Like I feel like that's something I'll be doing until my ears don't work anymore. You know what I mean? But also, an artist, I started as an artist. So like I always am an artist, you know what I mean? But I feel if I had to choose one, I would choose engineering for sure. I think it makes me happier. I think I can still express my art through that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
That's what's up, bro. So you talked about starting off as an engineer. Like, let's talk. I mean, as an artist, let's talk a little bit more about that. So you got your start in the scene in Michigan, right?
yeah, originally from Ann Arbor, Michigan. So when I was like in high school, like 15, 16 years old, this teen center opened called the Neutral Zone. And it was basically a place for like a club for kids, you know what I mean? Like a place for high school kids to go where it wasn't drinking and they were supervised, but it also had like, dope concerts and stuff that adults were doing just on a kid level, which was really dope. And through there is where I got some of my first performances and met like some of the cats that I still work with today. Like One Below, for example, used to do shows there and like he would let me open up for him. And that's kind of how I got my first touch of the stage, you know what I mean, was through those teen center shows back then.
That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. And then you were reading through your bio, you were part of a co-creator of a collective, right?
Yeah, the abolitionist project. So just a group of like forward-thinking musicians, kind of more abstract music than what was going on back then, at least. This is like the early 2000s, like 2001 through 2005, 2006, something like that. So I don't know, kind of just forward-thinking anti-government rap, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's what I was doing heavily before I moved to California. I was strictly on that, doing shows in Detroit and Ann Arbor and just, talking mad junk about the government in my rap.
That's crazy, B. So then, like you said, transition into Cali. So, but before we get to Cali, in terms of engineering, you started engineering while you were in Michigan, and for a lot of cats, I think that it can become sort of a necessity, right? Like we have people who are recording. We need somebody to run the board. Like, was that what it was for you? Was it just sort of out of necessity?
It really was. It was necessity. And one of my uncles was into the music industry a little bit. So it was like, I had him, he saw that I was a hungry musician. So he was like trying to help me out. And he gave me like a 4-track recorder. And with having that, it was like, all right, now all I got to do is learn how to use this thing and we can have our own songs. You know what I mean? So, and back then there was no Google or any of that. So it was just like trial and error. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
that's what's up.
But it was out of necessity. It was like, all right, I'm in this collective. There's like 8 or 9 of us and we want to have tracks. So one of us has to learn how to engineer. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much what it came down to.
That's crazy. And it's cool though, I think, to as a throwback, because as an old head, I mean, that's what it was for me, right? In terms of emceeing, that's easy. You can do that. And like way back in the day, it was just MC and you get somebody to beatbox and you're good. And then you have a friend who's a DJ. So you go to your friend's house and this, that, and the third. But then at some point you do want to capture that. And for a lot of us, that was a part of that journey, is learning how to record. But you have now turned that into a major part of what you do. So like you said, then you moved out to California and really delved into, and I mean, it feels like looking at your bio, it feels like that's when you really delved into even more of the engineering.
Yeah, so the whole reason I moved to Cali was to go to engineering school. I went to the Los Angeles Recording School out in Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard. And that's where I was able to really like polish my skills as an engineer, kind of fill in all the gaps that I didn't know. It's like, I feel that when I started going to school there, I was pretty advanced in comparison to a lot of my classmates. because I had experience, I had already released a few albums that I had engineered myself, and I was a little bit older. I was 25. The rest of the kids are fresh out of high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I felt like that school is like the final thing I needed to like go from amateur to professional. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I went in there as already a working amateur engineer. So I got to skip that whole thing of being like student to engineer. It's like I already was an engineer. You know what I mean? So, but being that whole school thing, just my mentor, the dude that taught me Pro Tools, is this engineer, Tony Smalios, who worked on like the Infamous album, worked on DMX records, like worked on tons of classic New York hip hop records that like he was surprised that I knew what those records were. So I feel that he kind of took a liking to me, like, oh, this dude admires my work, like, and he raps. Like, this is like my one student that could potentially be like a future me. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
he kind of took me under his wing, and I would stay late after school and just be chopping it up with him, just trying to soak up as much knowledge from the OG as I could.
Yeah.
But once that school was a 9-month program, and after that, I was just, I hit the ground running. I already had a couple connects out here through Stone's Throw, and like Mayor Hawthorne's from the same town that I'm from, and that's right when his career was just getting started as Mayor Hawthorne. So it was like I was kind of able to jump into that world as an engineer with Rhetmatic and the Beat Junkies and Stone's Throw, and just from my connections from Michigan already. So I was very lucky for that. Yeah.
That's crazy, B. That's crazy. So then having that combination of that continued combination of engineering and emceeing, creating art, just being able to take it to the next level, obviously, that I would imagine that tunes your ear a little bit more even for your own work. Would that be fair to say?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's what's up.
Working on other people's music, it's like, you're hired to do that. And I know that my music is like the most important expression of myself. So when someone hires me, especially a stranger, I feel it's a huge responsibility. Like for me, I got to make their art sound better than they made their art. You know what I mean? So I feel that through that, it definitely makes me a better artist, for sure.
No doubt. No doubt. It's funny, bro. So we're doing the video situation, and I'm looking behind you, and I see a couple pieces on the wall that make my heart smile, man. First off, I see the Northwest Connect, man. I see you got the plaque up there, the homie Rev Shines, the joint that he did with Conway. So you engineered that one?
Yeah, I mixed and mastered that record. Yep.
That's what's up, man. Rev Shines is a friend. I had an opportunity to do an episode of the Cliff Notes podcast with Rev Shines. If y'all haven't heard that one, highly advise you to go back and check that one out. And then the other piece that I see up there that makes me smile is the Stro Elliott joint. I don't know Stro. I'm just a big fan of his. You know what I'm saying? Just so to see those pieces on the wall, I think it's cool, and I think it's cool that you have an opportunity to sort of share that, with folk who are coming through your space like that, man.
Yeah, man, I love it. It's like, it's a reminder. It's always a reminder. I wish you could see more of the records on here, but it's like you mentioned the Crown Royal album. Like the single from that was the first record I had on the wall.
Oh, word.
So it's like, and that one is like right over my shoulder right here. Actually, you can see it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, I always look at that like, man, that's where it started in LA, and then I don't know. It's like having each one of these records has a story to me. It's like I remember where I was when I worked on it. I might remember who hired me or who connected me to that job, or they all have some little piece of like my career attached to them, which is dope. And I just feel blessed to be an opportunity or to be in the position where people want to hire me, trust my ears to work on their music, man. It's the greatest honor,
No doubt. And that's the other thing I think is if people check out your website and they get an opportunity to look at your engineering credits, we see several names over and over again, which obviously just shows, and people who have released a lot of material, who are well respected in the industry. So it just shows that people do appreciate and respect your ear and what you have to offer and bring to their projects. So I think that, that even speaks for itself, and just in terms of, the impact that you've had on folk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you, man.
Absolutely. Chopping up with Tenacity. So So again, that balance between engineering and then continuing to be a creative as an artist. And one of the things that I so appreciated, like when I heard the project that you did with Drugs Beats, is like content, man. You know, like when you write and the stories that you tell and your perspective on life, definitely resonates with me in terms of the art that I try to use my platform to promote. Can you speak a little bit to where that comes from? Just your mindset when you are putting content out there for other people to consume.
Yeah, I say it all goes back to my collective, the Abolitionist Projects. You know, it's with the whole point behind that group was freeing the psychological slaves. You know what I mean? Like opening people's minds. And I feel that I've always held on to that in my music because it's the kind of music that I want to hear. Like when I listen to something, I want to hear something serious. Like I don't, especially at my age now, I'm about to be 40 years old. It's like, I don't have time to listen to fun music. I want to listen to serious music. Serious music is fun to me. You know what I mean? Like when you can take something super serious, like, I don't know, like my song Americans on that Discussions record. It's like super serious subject, but being able to like, you know, flip it in a way that's kind of playful, but at the same time, it's like, this isn't playful. This is serious. You know, it's like, that's what I love to do is making serious things be not so serious. You know what I mean? Like just explaining it in a way that's not preaching, you know, because that's the last thing I'm trying to do. And I know that a lot of that type of content can come off as preachy, you know? So it's like, I'm very conscious of like not making it be preachy, you know, but at the same time, it's like, I don't want to waste people's time with garbage content that means nothing, meaningless content, you know? So
yeah.
I try to put a little, you know, some knowledge in there, but also some fun, you know?
Absolutely. And to me, I think some of that comes from the production, right? Because if you like that project, I think was just a really good marriage of those two things. Really dope beats, and then that really, you know, it gets overused, but I still use the sort of the idea of conscious hip hop, right? And I think if you have that combination, but then the skill to have good wordplay, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I think those things make it real palatable, but yet, so I mean, that grabs the ear, but then like you said, then you're getting to the head as well when you're using those platforms to speak to things that are bigger than like, oh, just the fun song, as you said.
Yeah.
And then that dropped, and then the next thing that dropped was Inspired by True Events, which is your latest release, released in 2020. Very personal record, B.
Yeah, man.
Which, you know, Inspired by True Events, it's in the title of the project, right?
Yeah. And it's crazy. I had that record done almost before I even started writing the Drugs record. You know, like a lot of that Inspired by True Events stuff. It is about my real life, and it's songs they were personal and I guess maybe kind of private that I've just been kind of sitting on, you know what I'm saying? And I knew that I wanted to do an album with it at some point, but I felt like it was incomplete. And that's why I just kind of set it aside and went working on that record with Drugs Beats instead, you know?
No doubt.
But yeah, Inspired by True Events is my baby, man. For real.
The stories on there are cool. And it's funny, man, because, you know, I think a lot of people will talk about, you know, writing their life in terms, whether it's in hip hop or any other genre, writing their life. And I think the way that there are many things about this project that I really dig, man. One of the things is that like you got fam on the record, which I think is always cool when I hear people who put either their kids or their parents or whatever on the record, because I think that takes that, it becomes a little bit of almost like a time capsule, right? You have that forever.
Yeah.
Was that something you thought about wanting to do, or was it just something that happened organically?
Oh, it's something like, it goes back to my engineering. It's like I like to do cool engineering stuff like that all the time. And it's the fact that I live in California so far away from my family, I can't get them involved in like some of this cool stuff I do on the side, you know, when I'm just playing around. So I was like, dang, like if I lived home, I would obviously just have my mom come to my studio and do something really dope, you know, but I had to try to capture that in voicemail. So it was just crazy. Like those voicemails are one take. Like it wasn't like say this. Like I literally, especially the one with my mom, I was like, you're the one that named me Tenacity. I just want you to kind of talk about that. Leave a voicemail talking about how like, how you feel about me pursuing my dreams and how you named me Tenacity. And then she left that like 2-minute voicemail of just gold. You know what I mean? And the one with my uncle on there, it's like, my song about alcoholism, which is huge in my family. I caught him slipping, leaving me a drunk message one night and was like, oh, now you're on the record. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is why I wrote this song, is to talk about this. And this is the perfect example of showing my listeners, like, how deep this runs in my family or whatever. And it's playful, I wasn't trying to do that to put him on blast. He's the homie. He approved it and everything. So it's cool, but yeah, with me being so far away, I feel it's important to like, for the type of artist I am, to include my people from back home, whether it be my family or some of my homies or whatever, it's like, I miss those dudes. I moved out here at 25 years old and restarted my whole life. And now I've been out here for 14 years almost, and it's like, this is my life, but through music, I'm able to still connect to my previous life or whatever.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. And then you have some guest MCs, names people definitely recognize on the project. But like you said, I mean, these are people who who you are connected with. Like these are the homies, which has got to feel good.
Yeah, like Guilty and One Below, I've known since, before I even moved to Cali. And then Chino and Razkaz, I just met through House Shoes, really. Like working with DJ House Shoes, especially being his engineer, we'll be working on some stuff. He'll be like, yo, so-and-so is about to pull up. And then, it's a bunch of rap legends in the room all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Especially when we first started working. So I was that's the reason why I got a lot of these credits, these engineering credits, is from House Shoes, having people come over and they would see the type of work we're doing. And I've always had a fair rate, as far as like the cost of my engineering. So it was, crazy just being like a younger dude, and House Shoes got like OGs coming over once a week. You're like, oh man. Like I had a roommate at the time, one of my homies from back home. He's like one of my childhood friends. And I mean, I can't wait to eventually get some of this dude's stories on records, because he'd come home from work and be like, yo, is that Chino XL in our living room? Like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, so.
That's great. So, so did you connect with Shoes before you got to LA?
So I met Shoes one time in Michigan. But we run in the same circle. Like we have a lot of the same homies. I think that really what it is just the age difference back then. Like I was too young to be in Detroit at his shows. Like when he was really doing his thing, popping out there, you know what I'm saying? Like I was 18 years old, 19 years old. I couldn't drink at the shows. I couldn't get into the shows, But yeah, when I moved out here, I met him at an event. It was an event that Mayor Hawthorne's crew was throwing. Crown Royal performed at it. It was during that whole Crown Royal era. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Shoes needed somebody to drive him to Fat Beats to get this record. And I was like, yo, I'll drive you. And then from there, it was just boom. So-and-so. Yeah, that's the homie. Oh, wow. Blah, blah, blah. And a couple years later, we worked on his record, and, that's how we really became really good friends. And from there, street corner music.
That's what's up, B. Well, and it's crazy because I think, a couple of things. I think if people pay attention to who House Shoes is and what he's done in the industry over the years, and I think it's real easy to tell that he's really serious about his stuff, and which I think is cool. Which I think a lot of good quality comes from that. So in working with him, being an engineer for Shoes, like I would assume, but you tell me, like, is there pressure that comes with that, or was there earlier and now it's like, no, your skill set is at a level where there's no more pressure? Or?
Yeah, especially at first when we were doing his album Let It Go. He's got a lot of guest features on there, and because of that, it was difficult because they're all recording at different studios. Some of these verses are 5 years old. Like, I'm having all this audio thrown to me that is coming from all over the place. So it was a huge challenge. And I was, I might not have been ready for that challenge. Like, it really helped me grow into him and I together, like working on this, because he didn't know what he was doing. I knew what I was doing, but like was kind of nervous. So it was like we like had to build this together. And yeah, I mean, it was a lot of pressure, I would say, but through that experience, we both learned how each other works. You know what I mean? So, and we probably worked on his album for like a year. I mean, from start to finish, like we weren't working on it every day. Maybe, once every week or something we get together, but there was just so many elements to it. It's like we had all the instrumentals, and then some of the songs might have 4 different rappers on it. So, okay, we're waiting on this verse from this guy, and then we're waiting on this over here. So it was always just juggling. And like, I remember the first time we thought we finished the album, we're like, yeah, man, we're about to get a Grammy from this. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And then like 5 months later, we're still working on the album. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, to answer your question, like, I feel that there still is pressure sometimes, like, because some of these records that I work on through him are, a big deal that are secret. There's a lot of stuff that like you can't talk about. Major labels might be involved, and because that's the thing Shoes does, is like he opens doors for people, and then he like, he's there to help. He wants to help people. That's his job. It's not about, oh, I'm a DJ. It's about, I'm a DJ that plays your music to help your music. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
Knowing that, like, I don't really feel pressure, you know what I'm saying? But I could see why a lot of people that don't know him might be like intimidated, and, because he does keep it real. He does speak his mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, he cares about his people, and most importantly, he cares about this culture more than anything. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yo, so doing that, having an opportunity to record or engineer music for like artists that are so celebrated, does that change your perspective on how music is made now? I mean, I think sometimes I really work not to, you know what I'm saying, be like the get off my lawn old man kind of situation. But I listen to, like you talked about it, how long it took you to make some of these records that you've engineered. And I think that there's something to be said for that, especially in an age where, so many of us can just go in our bedroom or go to the homie spot and record a record and have it done in, 3-4 weeks. And I think that that it's cool that can happen, but I wonder if that has any sort of impact on the quality of the music that's being put out. So as an engineer, and having worked as long as an engineer as you have, like, do you have any feelings one way or the other on that?
I used to. Like, there was a brief period where there was like all these apps popping up that are like, oh, master your song, $25. It's like a robot that masters your song based off of just where the peaks are hitting. And I was like, man, that's eliminating human ears and making it, I was getting annoyed at that at first, but really it's like quality speaks for itself. You know what I mean? So it's like, if a newer musician doesn't want to hire a professional engineer, in the long run, you're going to know that his music wasn't professionally engineered. Something's going to happen, whether it be like, oh, the fade out got cut off too early, or, the track is mislabeled. It's like, or it's spelled wrong, or, it's like, there's always, when you cut corners, there's always something that's going to show that you cut that corner, and I don't think that's just with engineering. I think that's with a lot of things in music, like, the guitar player doesn't tune his guitar before the session, and then in the middle of the dopest solo ever, the note sounds wrong. You know what I mean? It's like, he should have just tuned that guitar real quick, So it's especially, I'm a quick engineer. So it's like, I just did a project with my man B Young, and it was like within 2 weeks he had written it, recorded it, mixed and mastered, like everything, with me as a professional doing it on a professional level. So,
wow.
And that doesn't cost anything extra. That was just, my schedule was free at the time, So it's possible to knock out a record quick with a professional engineer. You just got to find the right one, and find somebody that's not sitting over here trying to, it's going to take me 8 hours when it really takes them 30 minutes, So
yeah. So if if folk are artists, I mean, like good artists, whether they be whatever genre, but they're actually really good artists, and they're at this place where they want to put this music out for people to hear on a larger platform. what do you say to folk like that? Like the benefits of having someone like yourself as an engineer work with them on that project. Like what
Yeah,
are
I
they,
mean,
like why is that important? Why is that valuable? What is it that you do that they may not even be aware of?
yeah, that's a great question. I actually just had a similar situation to that with a client. Just from my experience, it's like, I know how to get the files prepared in a way that the person that's going to receive them after me, like the distribution company or the label, I know how to get everything set up properly for that. I all these numbers you see, like 44.1 and 96K and 16-bit and all that. Like I know what that stuff is. Like I can get you right on that. Hiring a professional engineer just eliminates the learning curve. You know what I mean? It's like the same way you hire a professional graphic designer. You don't have to learn how to use Photoshop. You know what I mean? Like you hire an engineer, you don't have to learn how to do all this other stuff. That's their job to do it. It means you can concentrate on being an artist and concentrate on promoting yourself or whatever, and you hire a team so that you don't have to do all the work. It's like, let somebody else take this load of work, especially the engineering part, because, and I can speak as an artist, like you fall in love with your music and it's hard to make it better yourself. You might not even know what you're supposed to do to make it better. Like it already sounds perfect to you, but you throw it to me and I might be like, man, this sounds awful. Like the sonics of it, like there's too much treble, there's too much bass or whatever. It's, an engineer is important, man. People hear music, they want it to sound a certain way. It makes frequencies give feeling, you know what I mean? So especially in the lower realm of the frequency span, like, when you're talking about bass and stuff, it's a feeling. So it's like, you need to have somebody that knows how to carve out those feelings for certain joints,
Absolutely. Absolutely. With that, you have an opportunity to educate folk. But like you said, for a lot of people, this is my baby. And when I gave it to you, this is, I just want you to make it so then I can put it out. But you're describing opportunities to open people's eyes and ears to what their music could sound like. Is that a difficult conversation to have?
With some people, I feel that I've been pretty lucky to have a majority of really open-minded, understanding clients who just trust me. They're like, you know what, just do what you do and then send it back to me and I'll give you notes after that. You do occasionally get the person, and this is kind of funny, it's normally people that aren't even that professional in their music career that are like, oh, you need to do this and you need to do this. Like, I don't need to do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want me to do this. Those are always the people that have these extreme demands where it's like, why are you even hiring me? Like, like I'm not an arrogant person, but it's like, I have a resume that's pretty deep. Like, I know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
that is tough because, people don't want you messing with the way their music sounds. So it's like, it's definitely a strange conversation when you work on something and it's obviously better, but the client wants it to go back to how it was. And it's like, as the engineer, it's like, all right, I can't sit here and be insulted that this dude doesn't have the same ears that are trained the way mine are, I guess. Like, I don't know.
Right. That's crazy, B. So even as long as I've had an opportunity to do what I do, there's still, I still have these moments where I kind of fanboy out, like people who I am truly a fan of their work, their art, what I've seen. And then I have an opportunity to meet them, or better yet, do an interview with them. And I'm at a place where I'm comfortable enough, like saying that. I just did an interview with Sa Rock, and I was like, I am like such a fan, and I want to let you know that I'm such a fan. Okay, now let's get into this interview. So like with all of the people that you've had an opportunity to work with and connect with, like, has that even been an experience for you? And if so, is it still an experience for you, or do you just look at it differently now?
Yeah, it's still an experience, and it has happened to me twice. The two biggest ones was Chino and Jay Electronica, like especially the Jay Electronica, like that was just crazy. But yeah, like the most recent is the record right behind my head. That one, where do I go? Oh, yeah, that record from Fat Beats. It's Fat Beats' 13th volume of the Baker's Dozen or something. Or no, it's called Baker's Dozen. But it has like joint from Madlib, a joint from Pete Rock, like just legends who I thought I would never get to like, you know, have my hands in their music. It's like, bam, I got them all on the same record. Wow. So I was definitely fanboying on that. But yeah, you know, like I said, like shoes will pop up sometimes with some legend and you're just like, yo, this is crazy, you know?
No doubt.
Like that happened to me. I'll tell you the Jay Electronica story. Now that that album is released into the world, it's not such a secret anymore. So I was at the crib one day with House Shoes. We're working on The Gift Volume 5, which is like an instrumental series on Street Corner Music. And he's like, yo, it's one of the homies about to come through. I'm not about to tell you who it is. And I was like, you got to tell me who it is. Like, what? Come on, bro. And he's like, nah, I'm not going to tell you. And I'm like, all right. So we're chilling. Knock on the door. It's Jay Electronica. I'm like, oh, man, this is crazy. This is like 2013. So this is like the height of Jay being missing. You know what I'm saying? Like, where is this dude? What's he up to? He's such a mystery, man. And yeah, so he comes in the crib. We're kicking it or whatever. Immediately, this dude throws me $120. And I'm like, what is this for? And he's like, just for having me over. You know, like, please, no pictures or anything. Like, he was dating the Rothschilds lady at the time. So he's like, you know, please don't talk about me being over here. Like, this is just honestly, like, for the hospitality and for y'all keeping me low key or whatever. I'm like, cool, no worries, whatever, you know, cool. I'm continuing to work on my stuff. Shoes and him are on the couch catching up. A lot of times when Shoes invites people over, it's like I'm working and they're chilling. You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of I have that vibe where it's like, you know, you guys kick it, have some drinks, smoke, do whatever. I'll be working on the record while you guys are chilling, you know? And so they're chilling, you know, probably 2 or 3 hours. Jay's trying to write a verse to this beat that I'm working on. So like Shoes is like, all right, you're just going to stop working. Just keep that beat on loop. Do not turn that beat off of loop. I'm like, all right. You know what I mean? So we must listen to this beat like 90 times. Anyway, good dope session. The homies leave or whatever. The next day I get a call from Shoes and he's like a phone number, a European phone number is going to call you. You better answer that. Like, it's going to be Jay Electronica. And I was like, okay. So I was working at a hotel as a housekeeper, right? And I get a number, like a London phone number, and I answer it, and it's Jay Electronica. And he's like, yo, bro, I really like the vibe that you set up. You know, you really made me feel comfortable. He's like, I'm working on an album right now for Rock Nation or for Rockefeller or whatever, and I hate being at big studios with a bunch of people watching me. Can I record my album at your studio? And I was like, of course. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, let's do this. So immediately, like, I take a couple days off work. We set it up. It's like February 2013. And the homie comes over for like every day for like a week, just comes over. He's recording joints. You know, my roommate at the time, the homie I was talking about, you know, comes home from work. Is that Jay Electronica in the living room? Jay like makes him, because Jay's just, he wants people to know that like he's not trying to invade on anyone's space. So he's like, can your roommate please come out? Like, I really want to like introduce myself and like let him know that I appreciate him letting me be here. I was just like, man, this dude is such a good dude. You know what I mean? He brought his daughter through one day. Like, it was just crazy. And then, you know, he leaves town to go to the All-Star game, and then I haven't seen him since. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally just haven't talked to him, haven't seen him since.
Wow.
Just been sitting on this record of like I've had that record since 2013. You know what I'm saying? And what he told me is that he's recorded it at so many different studios so that the label can't have the master recording. Like, it's almost like he's trying not to like let them have a hand in any of this, which was really dope. You know what I mean? A funny thing too, he's talking to me and my roommate, and he's like, do you guys mind if I like have some guests come over? Like, I got a couple guest spots. And I'm like, yo, I don't care. Like, you're talking about paying me from the comfort of my own home, and you're Jay Electronica. And he's like, okay, word, because I'll probably have Rihanna come over next week. And like me and my roommate look at each other like, we got to clean the carpets, guys. Like, you know what I'm saying? She never ended up coming through, but like, it was at that level. You know what I'm saying? Like, this dude was talking about flying me to London and like moving me to London and having me be his personal engineer and like all this stuff, man. Like, it was like I was like, man, this is life changing. Like, so yeah,
Wow.
that's like my story of like engineer stuff that just nobody even knows. You know what I mean? Like just being in that moment with just this super sought out after this legend. You know what I'm saying? And having him be so cool and just be like, yo, like I'd rather work with you than work at this big recording studio. It's just like mind blowing to me.
That's what's up,
Quite
man.
humbling, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, definitely humbling. I mean, to think that you're just doing you. You're just doing what you do, and I mean, and I think that's something that can get lost once you have a lot of people recognize who you are. Is you can lose that humility because you have so many people telling you, oh, you're so good and you're so this, that, and the third, and to maintain
Hmm.
that humility and then still see no life is still good if I, when I just stay in my lane. So I think that's just one of the blessings of staying humble, man. I mean, I think that's a real thing for real.
For sure, man. It's very important to me to stay humble. You know what I mean? It's like through this industry, I've met some of my idols that aren't so humble, let's say, and then you get disappointed. You're like, oh, never listen to that dude's music again. You know?
No doubt, man. Yo, so and I asked you this and thanks again, man, for jumping on the radio show. I asked you this then, but just for this audience, anybody who missed that interview, being a creative and having an opportunity to share that with the masses, right? And you've done
Mhm.
it a number of times now. You are you because of what you do as an engineer and as a creative. Now you have an opportunity to meld and put all of that together and put it out. Is it different for you to share your art than sharing someone else's art? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you
Yeah,
talked about how your last record, Inspired by True Events, is so personal to you. But does it feel different? As an example, does it feel different to release your project than to work with an artist the caliber of Jay Electronica and know that it's out there for people to consume?
yeah. I still get nervous about my art. Like even around like House Shoes, who's like my best friend. Like if I were to write a song right now, I'd be nervous to play it for him. You know what I mean? Like I think that's like a natural, healthy thing to have as an artist. Is like, like even if it's the dopest verse that I've written, I'm still like, oh man, I don't know. Is the homie gonna think it's dope? When I work on someone else's music, I'm it's their song, so it's like if you think it's whack, that's because they wrote it and it's whack. You know what I'm saying? Like it's. But I mean, it depends though. If I'm playing a song I worked on around somebody that I admire as an engineer, then I will be, have that little bit of nervousness, like, oh man, are they going to think my mix is weak, or is that snare drum popping hard enough? So,
Yeah, yeah.
but I do think I get more shy with my actual art than with other people's songs for sure.
No doubt, no doubt. So oftentimes when I talk to people, especially when we're talking about a record that they've recently released, there is that yeah, I released that one, or I wrote it a while ago, and I'm already working on the next. Is that the case? Are you there? Are you already thinking about the next piece of art that you want to create of your own to put out? Like, where are you in your creative space right now?
Yeah, I have a record probably like I'll just say halfway to be safe, like probably like halfway done. It's actually a lot different than anything I've released recently. The beats are more like theatrical, I guess, like less boom bappy. The producer he's a sound designer, so it's a lot of like the beats sound like movie trailer music, kind of. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. That's kind of I don't really know how to explain it other than that.
Okay.
But we've got probably like 10 joints for that. I think I want to do like 24 and then narrow it down to like 12. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we're about halfway done with that. And then I want to start on another like, straight boom bap record, but I just feel that the beats, I don't have the beats that I want for it yet. So I got to go on like a round of hunting for beats, which for me, that's going to take me like 6 months. You know what I mean? I'm so particular about my sound, and the producers that I really want to work with are homies of mine, and they're super busy, and I'm not gonna, I don't want to intrude on their business by taking away their creativity from their own stuff for my stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when I find out that they're not busy anymore, I'm coming. So.
No doubt. Well, I know a couple of people, man, that I could try to, send your way. People who I think you might sound, people I think you'd sound dope over. So we can have that conversation later.
I'm super open to that. I definitely want to work with more people and just expand myself, expand my creativity. So
that's what's up, man. So where you are now, in the creative process, with the way that you write, the things that we talked about, the way that you share your art, the way that you share your thought process in 2020 and everything that's happened in 2020, from, the coronavirus to the social unrest to, American politics. What sort of influence has that had on your creative process? And can we expect to see that come out in what you're writing right now?
Yeah, it's like every song is about one of those topics. It's like I got my racism song, I got my government song, I got my quarantine song. But all of this stuff going on in the world is truly bringing out, like, it's having me look at shallow things in a deeper way, if that makes sense. I know that's kind of like poetic or whatever, but that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is like look at something that's so stupid and shallow, but like really dive in and find out what makes it so stupid and shallow. Like I got a song called Jealousy, for example, where like I really just tune into like what makes people jealous. Like, why is your homie jealous that you're hanging out with your other homie? Why is that? What is that? Why is that something to be jealous about? You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I think that I found like simple topics, but make them complicated just because of like the wordplay and the thought patterns or whatever.
No doubt.
But yeah, you can expect to hear a bunch of 2020 stuff on the new one for sure.
Which is, I actually really love that, man. I love to see artists who again use their platform to talk about what's happening around us in our world. I think when we look at some of the most celebrated songs of any genre, those songs that really stand the test of times, those songs that we often go back to and celebrate and listen to in our downtime, those songs are typically about more than just let's have a good time. I mean, they speak to change oftentimes. And so again, bro, like with the stuff that I've heard from you, it's definitely one of the things that I truly appreciate. So I did the radio show last night. We're recording this on a Sunday. I did Welcome to the Neighborhood last night, and in the set, man, I played Imagine from your joint, Inspired by True Events. And you talked about it on the radio show, man. But once again, in case people missed that conversation, I love that song so much because it gives such an amazing perspective on perspective in terms of how we're moving through life and how we see life, and oftentimes how we miss celebrating and just appreciating what we have. So for anybody who hasn't heard the record yet, anybody who hasn't heard Imagine, can you speak to what the song is about, how you wrote it?
Yeah, so it's like a 2-part song, sort of. It's like 2 stories. So the first verse is like imagine things that you don't have. You know what I mean? Or it's reversed. Imagine what you do have. Anyway, one verse is about what you don't have. One verse is about what you do have. So it's from the perspective of someone kind of caught in the middle. Like, I wrote that when I was like taking the bus to work all the time. So I would take the bus from Hollywood, which was like, it wasn't like hood, but it was like grimy, homeless people everywhere and stuff, to this super fancy hotel that I worked at. And the things I would see in between are all the things I was talking about on the verses. Like, imagine not having to worry about, imagine having a $5 bill last 5 days, like imagine just different things, putting myself in the shoes of all these people I'm seeing as I'm riding this bus to work every day. And, like I said this on the radio show, but I'll say it again. I used to talk to this homeless dude whose name was Canada. And like, he's the true inspiration behind this song, because like this dude had a regular, normal life, got locked up, went to jail for like 2 years, came out of jail, and his mom and dad had both passed by the time he had got out of jail. So he had nowhere to go, instantly became homeless. And he was like the happiest dude I would see. And it made me think like, man, imagine having what he has and like still being able to smile. You know what I mean? Like just, he would always be cutting jokes and just smiling. And I'd get off the bus after having a terrible day at work and this homeless dude would be having a better day than me. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man. So like, it really got me thinking about like, imagine being that dude. You know what I mean? Like, what is it like to be that dude? How come he's smiling? And I'm the dude who getting paid $20 an hour to make beds. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it really, I love songs like that because they're challenging and like there's a resolution. It's like there's a problem at the beginning of the song, and then at the end of the verse, there's a resolution into like how it flips around or whatever, you know. And I had like the dopest idea for a video for that song, but then like coronavirus, and it would probably cost so much money to do, but you know, it's like that song's super special to me. I'm so glad that it's having I'm so glad people are recognizing it, like yourself. And I've had a couple other people say that's their favorite joint. So it means a lot, man, because that's one of my favorites for sure.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Chopping up with Tenacity. Once again, your latest project is out right now, inspired by true events. One of the other things I wanted to ask you, because of what you do as an engineer and have an opportunity to have your hands and ears on so many projects, reading through your engineering credits is cool, because one of the things that makes me want to do is, I want to go and listen to this artist, an artist that maybe I'm not familiar with, right? Mm-hmm. Are there a couple of artists that you feel like that you have had access to because you've mixed their projects or you've heard them that maybe we as consumers don't know yet? Maybe one or two people you can be like, yo, y'all should check for this cat and y'all should check for that cat.
Yeah, like a lot of the cats that J57 works with, like my little bro Kataya, man, like he's like one of the most productive dudes. I feel like I've worked on like 10 records of his, you know what I mean? Like, and half of it hasn't even come out yet. He's definitely somebody to check out. Who else, man? My man Keelan, he's this dude that just moved to LA. He's from Youngstown, Ohio originally. He has a dope flow, man. It reminds me of like just growing up in the hood. Like he's not super gutter. He's not talking about guns or nothing, but he's talking about growing up and being a black man from Ohio. And I can just relate to it. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's super, I mean, I'm obviously not a black man from Ohio. It's like the way that he speaks about it. It's like, you know, me being from Michigan and, you know, being of low income myself, like, it's like, I can really feel that, you know? So he's somebody to check out for. Man, I'm trying to think. I feel like I need to pull up this folder. And
right. No, but that's dope though. Cause like, say it again.
Tons of producers, man. Just like all over the place. Like Seb Severe, he's a dude from Chicago. I've done a couple records for him recently. Yeah, man. I know J57 has a bunch of stuff in the stash that we've done over the years. Everybody from 5-7 Collective, man. Mark Ski, I just did his record recently.
I had an opportunity to do an episode of Cliff Notes with Mark Ski. His record is so dope. Catch Wreck. It's an amazing, and you got a verse on there.
Yeah, that was cool. I'm like, I've been working on his music for a minute. He's like, yo, man, will you do a verse? I was like, for sure. That was pretty dope to just kind of be on the other spectrum of that with him.
No doubt. But yeah, man, 5-7 Collective. The collective is amazing in terms of the talent that is a part of that, and then I think even greater than that, just the personalities and the hearts of those individuals who are part of that collective. Just good people, man, and it's dope. I agree, man. It's just dope to be connected that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really dope to see J57 like doing. I remember when he had the idea that he wanted to do that type of thing, and just the way he was able to do it, and he did it quickly, and it's super organized. You know, like I jumped on a Zoom. You couldn't make the Zoom earlier when coronavirus first hit.
Right.
I jumped on a Zoom with all those guys and was just like, man, I was really impressed by just, you know, the whole family aspect of it. It was really dope to see.
No doubt. Well, bro, like I said, it's cool to be able to grow in relationships with folk, obviously, and it's been really cool for me to be able to grow in a relationship with you from, like I said, just first getting introduced to you and then following your career, but then just, continuing to grow in terms of doing things together like this. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to jump on the podcast, man. It really means a lot to me. If folk want to tap into you and the things that you're doing, what's the easiest way for people to do that?
Well, first I want to say I really appreciate you taking the time all the way back to 2018, giving me that interview. I only did a couple interviews for that album. So you were one of them, so I really appreciate that. And likewise, as far as continuing to build, I'm glad I got a Portland homie. And actually, the album I'm working on right now, the homie lives in Portland. He's a Michigan homie, lives in Portland. So
okay,
maybe once all this stuff clears, I'll be able to come visit you, and we can kick it in person.
No doubt, no doubt.
But yeah, where people can find me, IamTenacity.com. I'm trying to make that be the main place where people find me. Social media is cool. It's at Tenacity Music on Twitter and Instagram, but I'm really trying to push the website. That's where you can see all my engineering stuff. I'm going to be launching a new site. It's going to be the same content, just a new design at the top of the year. So that's IamTenacity.com or at Tenacity Music on social.
That's what's up, man. And yeah, I think it would be dope for people to go and check it out just to see your production credits, and not even on some look at all the stuff that you've done, but look at all the stuff that you've done. You know what I mean? So whether you're looking for someone to engineer your stuff, or whether you're looking to just, to build and collaborate with an MC that's dope, who's in my words, high-minded in the way that he writes. Yes, definitely go check out the website, because all of those credits are definitely there. Bro, once again, man, thank you so much for doing this, man. I truly, truly appreciate it, man.
For real, I really appreciate it too, man. I spend so much of my time working on other people's music and talking about other people's music. It's nice to talk about mine occasionally. So I really appreciate it, especially the engineering side, which is, so secretive to so many people. I really enjoy sharing those stories. So if anybody got any questions or want to hear more stories, hit me up.
There you go. The invitation has been issued, man.
Sure.
Once again, man, the Cliff Notes podcast is available everywhere you listen to your podcast: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We're on Audible, or you can check out cliffnotes.com. If you have comments or questions, you can hit me up on the email cliffnotes@gmail.com. A couple of shout outs I got to give, man. Shout out to the 5-7 Collective, of course. Big ups to Acapella Apparel for their continued support of the Cliff Notes podcast. Check out the website. They just released a new line of merch, man. Dope sweats and hoodies for the winter season. So check them out at acapella.com. That's AKEPELE.com. Also check out my guy DJ Renz doing the live stream mixes. Just really cool vibes, chill vibes. But yeah, man, Acapella Apparel, big ups to y'all for continuing to support the movement. And last but never ever least, man, big ups to the homie Theory Has It for creating the official theme song for the Cliff Notes podcast. Once again, y'all, thank y'all so much for rocking with us, man. Stay connected. Be on the look for more great content from DJ Cliff Productions. If you want to contribute, man, you can check out the Patreon, DJ Cliff at Patreon. Or just hit me up to say what's up, man. All right, y'all. Until we have an opportunity to do this again, y'all be blessed. Peace.